Hi everyone, my name is Eyal. I am a senior solution architect at Sauce Labs based in London, UK. I want to start these sessions with a story. So you wake up in the morning and you have an idea about an amazing applications. A new social media platforms that everyone can share a picture of the cats. And actually, in the booths, there are so many cats, so I'm sure that this application could be a great success. So you start coding, you ask help from your friends, and maybe after a few days or a few weeks, you already have a few screens that you want now to build and push to Google Play Store and to publish that. Maybe before that, yeah, we need to buy and to create an Android developer account, but after that, let's push our app to productions. But maybe before that, we need to play with the app, run a few tests. But here, actually, what should we test? How should we test? Should we only run unit tests? Should we also use UI tests? So many options, so many choices, so many frameworks. But finally, we run a few tests on our Android emulators, and we push our apps to Google's App Store, and now we need to wait extra time for Google to review our apps, and hopefully after that, yes, we managed to publish our first applications, and everyone can share the pictures, the cat pictures. But then suddenly someone complains, someone writes a review about your apps that your app crashes every time, and you just think, oh, actually, what should I do? What actually this, I don't have enough information to fix this. What did this person do? What's the phones? And so many other questions that you want to understand to be able to fix these issues, and many more. So this was a very simple and maybe extreme simple example, but this is also what companies are facing, okay? In the SDLC, or the software developer lifecycle for web and mobile applications, it is similar to the story, to my story. You plan, you build, you code, you build your app, you test, you deploy it, and hopefully you will get better feedbacks. For mobile, there are specific and more challenges that we need to face. For that, there can be an issue with mobile. Mobile is remote. It means that an issue with your app is always happening somewhere else, not at your desk or in your, and on your screen. It happens in your hands of a person that you can't easily communicate with to understand why and how this issue happens. Also, there are so massive variety of Android and iOS devices across hardware and software configurations, and you cannot reverse installed app. Unlike with web applications, mobile native apps can't be reversed or removed from a user's phones. And this can be result in having more business impact when a native app's crash contains bugs. So to address these challenges and ensure that we can release to productions faster while maintaining confidence in quality and stability of our apps, we need to have the following in place. We need a robust testing strategy. We need an error and crash reporting tools for both the testing stage, but also in productions. And we need to have a mobile app distributions tools that help us distribute our app to beta users for testing before the official release. Let's start with testing. So, and I want here to focus on two popular and famous frameworks, Appium and Espresso. First of all, a quick poll. Who is using Appium? Okay, Espresso? Something else, or no testing at all? Okay, I need to remember that this is, most of the people here are developers. Yeah, so let's start with Appium. Okay, so Appium, and this is from the Appium website. Appium is an open source tool for automating native mobile web, hybrid applications, and on iOS mobile and Android mobile platforms. UI automations allow testers to write code that works through user scenarios in the actual UI of an application, mimicking as closely as possible what's happening in the real world. So from one side, we have our script, our code that we can develop with one of the supported languages, Java, Python, Ruby, C#, JavaScript, WebDrive IO. And in the other side, we have our mobiles with our applications that gets those commands and execute those commands on the device. For example, find an element, click on the buttons, and so on. And after that, send the result back to the clients. But the Appium is not one component. It is two components. It includes Appium client and Appium server. The Appium, both components can be on one machine, and then you can run on local emulators or local devices. But actually, you can split that, and this Appium servers and all the real devices and emulator can be on mobile cloud solutions such as SOSLab. Espresso. So this is from the Android website. Use Espresso to write concise, beautiful, and reliable Android UI test. Espresso is targeted at developers who believe that automated testing is an integral part of the development lifecycle. While it can be used for black box testing, Espresso full power is unlocked by those who are familiar with the code base under test. So with Espresso, what we have is on the device, we have the application, our application that we want to test, and we have another application that include the Espresso test, and both of those applications are integrated and talking with each other. Same with Appium. This device and those applications can be on your local device or your local emulators, or you can use, again, you can use a mobile cloud solution such as SOSLab, that those applications are sent to the cloud and run on real devices and emulators or on emulators. What are actually the main, in my opinion, the main differences between Appium and Espresso? It's not me, yeah. So Appium and Espresso are both used for native hybrid mobile apps, but Appium you can also use for mobile to test mobile web applications. Appium you can use for both iOS and Android, and Espresso is only for Android. Appium, as I mentioned before, you can develop your code with Java, JavaScript, C#, Ruby, and Python, and Espresso is mostly to develop the code with Java and Kotlin. Appium is the users or the teams that actually mostly develop Appium script are QA and test engineer, while Espresso is mostly for Android developers. And the testing type, Appium is a black box. Tester or the one that develops script don't need to understand what is going on in the app. They write the test outside of the app. And Espresso, actually the code is close to the native code of the applications. The speed, Appium is slower if I compare it to Espresso, because as you mentioned, as we saw, the commands being sent from the clients to the servers, introducing a network latency, while Espresso is faster because, as we mentioned, it's the direct integrations within the app's process. And last but not least, Appium is compatible with versions build frameworks such as Java, React Native, and Flutter, and Espresso is limited to Java and Kotlin build applications. Let's move on to the error and crash reporting. And when I'm talking about error and crash reporting, I'm talking about crashes such as black screen, freezing, empty screen, slow response to user input, and many more. And error and crash reporting tools help identify and diagnose the root cause of a crash so you can find the right solutions for it. So if we are in the, it's working, yeah. So if we are in the testing phase and you run your it's Espresso, Appium, also manual test, and the app crash, as in this example that I click on one of the product and it goes to the app crash. Out of the box, you will get all the information that mostly are developers. It's enough information for you to understand why the app crash and to find the root cause of the app and fix that. But what happens if you are not in the testing phase, but now we are in the productions and the app now is already, you already release your app, your users already download your app, and now the app crash. So for that we have a product called Backtrace. It's a Sauce Lab company, and with that you can capture all the errors and crashes that happen in your app, and you can prioritize those crashes by devices, by versions, by builds, and more to find the root cause of those errors and crashes. Last topic, it's about alpha and beta testing. First of all, very quick to understand what is actually alpha and beta testing. So alpha testing is done by an expert teams of developers and testers. It can be manual and or automated testing. And beta testing is done by real-world users, and it's a manual testing that they test on their own devices. Beta testing is mostly to get real-world exposures and feedbacks by allowing early users to try out your app and provide insight on what needs improvement and what should be removed. So I can compare, and maybe it's easier to understand the differences between alpha and beta testing in this example, and then we can see what was designed, but actually what user prefer, how user prefer to use the roads. And the same for, more or less the same for alpha testing and beta testing. At Sauce Lab, we also have a solution for mobile app distributions with a company that's called TestFairy, a Sauce Labs company. And this is in a high level, the software developer lifecycle. If you are using mobile app distributions, you build your app. Now you can save your app you can store your apps, and then now you can upload your app to Sauce Labs and run Espresso and Appium test on real devices, emulators, or you can you have a beta list of beta testers, and they will get notifications, they will get QR codes, they can get email, landing page in Slack, and they will get that. They can download the app to their devices and run and start to run also manual tests on this specific build of the app before the release. And hopefully after that, if you have a confidence that your automated test and your beta testing are fine, you can publish your app to the App Store with confidence. Thank you.